let's talk about the church, evangelism, and how technology has changed the face of how we can do evangelism. And this is what I am talking about today. So welcome to another episode as I talk about technology, the internet, and young people. And yes, there is such an opportunity now in the sense of global evangelism, because in times past, we know the model. People used to be trained up for months, even years, and then sent out to their cities, to other countries, and they would spread the word. But now with the internet, that has created such a big opportunity for us as a church, right? To reach out to people, to speak to people, to make an impact to people, and especially for our young people. And this is what I want to talk about, because I think it's so critical, because right now the church is focused on just the traditional way of evangelism, and there is a place for that. I'm not saying that's gonna die, because that will never die. There is a place for that, and people are called out to go into the world. But guess what? There's a faster way to go out in the world, and our young people are already in this world, in the digital world. We are in this world, and I think as a church we need to start thinking about this, because it is so important. And remember the stat that I shared last week to say that 89%, let me read that again. It says it is estimated that people who own a smartphone makes up to 89% of the world's population. Now, what an opportunity to reach out. And like I said, as a church, we need to rethink this thing about evangelism, global evangelism. And I mean, we got into it a bit when COVID came through, right? Because everyone had to be online and churches went online. And that's what had to happen, right? And then when COVID left and finished, then that began to wane. But I think as we're getting more and more in this digital space, we need to rethink that and maybe even have a strategy for that. Now, this topic is so big, so I actually had to write down points because it is so much. So I'm going to be just jumping here and there on the main points that I think are important when we talking about this, because like I said, I'm talking about our young people and how churches need to start thinking about it, because our young people already have an audience, already have big audiences. Some have medium audiences, some bigger than mega churches. And what are we doing there? What are we doing to help our young people to think about evangelism, to think about impact? Because just because you have an audience, just because you have followers online, doesn't mean you're making an impact, doesn't mean that you're making a difference in someone's life. It has to be deliberate, it has to be intentional. And as the church, I believe that there needs to be that thinking about how are we training our young people to think like that, to think about the followers. Because again, like I said last week, the followers that we have, that our young people have, and we need to teach them this, are not just stats, are just not numbers on a screen. These are real people. Even if they have not met them, they are real people. They live at their homes wherever they are in the world, and whatever impact or whatever there is an opportunity to reach out to that person, even though it's through a screen. And that is just as important as that face-to-face interaction. So this command that we have to go out in the world and go out and preach the gospel and go out to all nations, the internet has just made it even better for us. And like I said, we need to think of it as a church. And again, as a church, yes, I know, especially during COVID, a lot of churches had to rethink the presence online, right? So they opened pages and they began pages and started broadcasting online. But again, I will say this, having a presence or opening a page online, and having a presence online, like just to say we're gonna post a song here, we're gonna post our sermon there, yes, that doesn't equate to impact as well, because you've just put yourself online. There needs to be a strategy. There needs to be an intentional strategy, a digital or an online strategy that needs to be made for impact as churches. And this is what I believe. And even with our young people, right? Because again, let's go back to the traditional evangelism model that's there, right? So people be trained that you have to go to Bible school or a discipleship school, right? And train for 6 months and so on and so on and go out in the world. Well, that needs to happen with young people, but not in the way you think. Because like I said, our young people already have followers. Our congregants already have followers. And we had no say in that, right? We had no part in that because of this person's talents and gifts and charisma or whatever it is, they got these followers. So we need to then guide them in the right direction, to teach them how to use their gifts, how to use their talents, how to use whatever drew those people to make an impact. And we need to teach our young people about this. And the church is made up of people. The church is made up of families. And as families, as parents, we need to teach our kids about these things, right? We need to teach them about impact, about making a difference in someone's life using the gifts that we have. And like I said, so as a church, it's not about like we have to take our kids to Bible school. No, if your child or if one of the young people has 1 million followers, they just say, because they talk about, let's just say, how to build cars, then let's just help them to say, hey, have you thought about the eternal perspective? Have you thought about how can you make an impact in someone's life with your audience? And that is so important. It's a mindset shift. And like I said, I don't think the church is thinking like that. We just thinking of this traditional model of going out and preaching the gospel, where then our young people are in a digital world. And a crazy stat I actually read, and it's not a recent stat, but I haven't found any recent stats for 2020 or 2022, but let me read the stat. It's about Facebook, and this was in 2016, the stat, and let me just see. And it says, according to recent stats, this was a 2016 stat, it says Facebook has now become the largest country in the world. Can you believe that? Facebook has now become the largest country in the world. So if you had to get all the people that are in Facebook, it's saying the population in Facebook makes it the largest country in the world. And that was in 2016. So either it got more or it got less. But the question I want to pose is, who is sending missionaries to Facebook, to Instagram, to TikTok, to Snapchat? Because there are huge populations of people on there that need to be impacted, that need to hear about Christ. But are we thinking like that? As a church, are we having training sessions where we're teaching our young people about this in youth, in kids' church, in young people's church, right? We have a cross-culture group, all these things. We need to start thinking about this, because this is where impact is. And when we do both, the traditional evangelism and the digital evangelism, that's where there's more power. So like I said, and as you can see, when COVID ended, some churches just waned on their internet presence, and they thought, because now everyone's back home, back at church and they're moving around, it's fine. But it's not fine. We need to be thinking about global. How do we reach more people? And we need to be drawing on the resources that we have. And these are our people. These are our congregants. And they are, that's the best way they can influence people. They can impact people through their gifts. And like I said, it's not outrightly just telling them you need to speak about Christ. No, using their gifts, using their talents, using their passions to bring people to the kingdom, to inspire people, to challenge them about their lives and how they are living. How they are living their lives, right? So we need to teach our young people this. And we, as people, as adults, with the followings we have, we are part of that. Yes, I'm talking about young people, but I'm talking about everyone. What are you doing with your following? Do not waste your words, and don't waste people's time. We have an opportunity for impact, to change someone's life, to speak a word into someone's life, and we really need to think about this. So with this, I've come to the end of this episode. Thank you for spending this little time with me. I know there is so much on this topic to share, but I just thought, let me end this for this part, this influencer section or series on this, because I think it's so important. But with that, I will see you next week. And again, thank you for spending this time with me, and I will see you next week. Bye.